speaking of the NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys bring in Eric Kendricks. They lose Tony Pollard, Tyron Smith, Michael Gallup, Leighton Vander Esch. Hard to give the Cowboys a really good grade. I mean, I'm going to give a D for Dallas.
I mean, how can you not give him an F? They didn't do anything. I mean, they brought in Eric Kendrick, which is, it's making up for Leighton Vander Esch, who announced his retirement today. So, okay, fine. You fill a little bit of a need. But, boy, you lose Tony Pollard, Tyron Smith, Michael Gallup. I mean, you're talking about, like, legitimate pieces to your offense. And really with no active way to bring them back, or I should say bring in replacements for them. Like, I just don't know where that's coming from if you're Dallas. And they were the last team to make a signing. It just felt like they kind of hit the snooze button, especially, which is completely damning, after Jerry Jones said we were going to go all in this offseason. So it's from a expectation standpoint, from what ownership and the front office was giving you to what actually transpired. I don't know how you look at that and don't give it an F.
I don't think all in means what Jerry thinks it means. That's the problem. I'm gonna go D-. I am going to give them a small inkling of credit for the Eric Kendrick signing, but that is it. D-.
Okay. Next up, the Philadelphia Eagles. They add Saquon Barkley, Bryce Huff, CJ Gardner-Johnson. They lose maybe the two most important veteran pieces on each side of the ball, Jason Kelce, Fletcher Cox. Can't overstate how huge those losses are. Also, Kevin Byard out the door, along with DeAndre Swift. Brandon Graham, Jake Elliott, and Landon Dickerson re-signed. They've been extremely busy. I am going to give them a C-, and that might even be a little bit high. And it's not their fault, just like the Aaron Donald thing. Jason Kelce, and Fletcher Cox walked away. I think those two pieces #matter a lot. So C- for me.
I think that's fair. You kind of talked me down. I was going to give him a B, but I'll go down to B-, because again, yes, of course, losing Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox, you have to account for that. But I do love bringing back CJ Gardner-Johnson. I do love Saquon Barkley just from the spite standpoint alone. And Bryce Huff was a good player for the New York Jets coming off the edge. I think
really good player.
I think that's a sneaky great signing for them. So again, yes, of course, Kelce, Cox, losing those guys is not great, but I do like what they brought in as well. I thought they made some savvy moves.
I think this is going to be the first team where we all went with a different letter. I'm going to give them an A-.
Wow.
I was impressed what they did. Look, they lost Fletcher Cox. They lost Jason Kelce. As you guys mentioned, those are huge. But I love the Gardner-Johnson signing. That's a big one. I think Saquon Barkley is going to take a lot of pressure on Jalen Hurts. That's going to help out the offense a ton. Sully, you mentioned Bryce Huff. Does he replace Fletcher Cox? Probably not, but he is a good pass rusher. I think he can be good in that defense. And let's not forget, they re-signed their superstar, Jake Elliott, to a 4-year deal. I'm giving them an A-.
I'll bump them up to C+. You talked me into it. All right. Still saying the same letter grade. New York Giants. They trade for Brian Burns, add John Runyon, Drew Lock, and Devin Singletary, who's now going to be their feature back. They lose Xavier McKinney and Saquon Barkley. I think you can ding them for losing some really high picks who were supposed to be homegrown talents. But man, it's hard not to give them a good grade, Sully, for the Brian Burns trade. I'll say a B for the Giants here.
Yep, I think that's fair. I think B+, just because, again, you're getting a premier pass rusher for a song. I mean, it's just the fact that you were able to get him for what you were able to and basically fleece the Carolina Panthers for someone who I think you could anchor your defense for the foreseeable future. I think that's clearly, a huge boost for them. Obviously, losing Saquon Barkley from an emotional standpoint is a tough one, but for this team, for where they're going, I just don't know if it makes sense to pay a running back. Like the Eagles, it makes sense because you're knocking on the door of a Super Bowl. You feel like he's the guy that could get you over the edge. I just don't know if that same contract would have made sense in New York other than the emotions kicking in.
And I already just explained how much I love the Brian Burns deal. And because of that alone, I have to give the Giants something in the A range. So I'm giving them an A-. I think they've had a pretty impressive offseason.
Perfectly fair. We wrap it up with the Washington Commanders. They bring in Frankie Louvu, Tyler Biadasz, Zach Ertz, Jeremy Chin, Dorrance Armstrong, Cleveland Farrell, Marcus Mariota, Lou Sam Howell, Curtis Samuel, and Kendall Fuller. Also brought you get Brandon McManus, because we got to have these kicker discussions on here every freaking day with John Breach hanging around. I'll go B. I don't know, C+ for the Commanders. Nothing I think it's decent. Nothing.
I got a little nervous when you were in the B range. I'm like, it wasn't that good. It was C plus.
Yeah, it wasn't that good. I'm gonna see.
I'm
gonna see. I really didn't like it, but it's like the last one of the show. I felt bad for giving out bad grades. I'm gonna even see.
It's fine. I'm in the C plus range. Listen, I like Jeremy Chin. I think that's kind of underrated. Zach Ertz could be great for a young quarterback. I like Marcus Mariota. This is one of the reasons why I kind of love what they did at the quarterback position, getting rid of Sam Howell, bringing in Marcus Mariota, because it feels like they're going to draft Jaden Daniels. I know the odds of, my buddy sent it to me the other day, like that Drake May was now the favorite at number 2, but that's been ping-ponging a ton. It feels like Jaden Daniels is going to be the number 2 overall pick. Stylistically, it matches well with Mariota, and Mariota is a great sounding board for any one of these quarterbacks that they bring in. A former number 2 overall pick, kind of been handing the keys to a franchise. That alone could really help bring along this young quarterback that they're going to draft at number 2 into the NFL.
I am going to go in that B range for you guys that you didn't want to hit up. I actually liked what the Commanders did this offseason. Of course, Brinson mentioned they signed a kicker. That was obviously my favorite move. But look, I think they made a couple underrated moves. I didn't hate bringing in Bobby Wagner. Is he old? Yes, he is old. But he gets to reunite with Dan Quinn, who was his defensive coordinator in Seattle. So I think Quinn brought him in to kind of be that veteran leader on that defense. And then you just look kind of what they did on the offensive line. Nick Allegretti, getting him from Kansas City, I think was a very, very good signing. Man, Austin Eckler, I feel like is going to be somebody who has put up some impressive numbers in Washington. So I'm going to go B minus.
Oh yeah, missed Austin Eckler on there. I did like the Austin Eckler signing. Although I do think it's hilarious that we keep getting these like the Twitter's like Austin Eckler's an elite running back, best in the league. It's like, dude, it's like Antonio Gates is celebrating right there. Like, settle down.